is Christy Tiny, and I'm an O2, thank you, Phoenix board member, and a lot of big handful of people in this room, I was either their school director or curriculum specialist, so it's good to see familiar faces, and just a lot of other familiar faces from being in Woodruff Dining, probably, or other places. So we're going to start talking about summer school, and last year, when I presented this session, I gave some sort of bizarre analogy that I'll give again, to most many people, but I think it's really weird when people call like their car or their purse their baby. Like, I don't get it. I really get that you like cars, but I think it's kind of weird that you're like, my baby is like really tiny, whatever. But summer school and the ISAT is kind of my baby. And last year it definitely was my baby because this is my first year in my job. So this is sort of like my toddler. And this is where the analogy starts to go down this bizarre road, so I'll just stop it. But that is to say that I'm basically handing over the baby or the toddler to you all at this point, and this is the beginning of that process, so I'm really excited. I work with Atlanta Public Schools, like Taylor said, year-round to plan for this 5-week summer program that we have. And just to give some of you context, for those of you either who have not been to Atlanta in the summer or are not from over here, we do have sort of a unique summer school program in that the students who attend our summer school are, for the very large majority, there because they have failed the state test, which is called the CRPT in elementary and middle school, or the end of course test in high school, and they need to retake that test in week 5 of Institute. So the stress of teaching in the summer is sort of, in a lot of ways, I would say heightened, and I see people nodding who either probably teacher or who have been CMAs or staff members in the summer, because core members are getting a lot of just like added responsibility. Like it's always a responsibility when you're teaching, but I think because this high stakes test is there, it's even more. So it's just sets a different tone, and I'm happy to be a part of it. And we're going to talk about some of the results we've had in the past in this session. So I want to just say that this is a very, 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 very big picture, very general session. It's 1 hour. So what I want you to know that is if you leave this session knowing basically what our summer goal is for students and why, and what the ISAT is and how we come to start making it, you'll be good to go. And then we're going to get into a much deeper level at the next conference and in your pre-work. Okay? Okay, so let's talk about our growth goals. Can I have someone read this really loud for me? Yeah, Jeff, thanks.
Summer school students come to us having mastered widely variant amounts of the previous year's content, and we have only 4 short weeks of instructional time to close this gap for each student. As a result, our goal is for each student to grow the right amount based on his or her starting point.
So we've been referencing these growth goals a lot sort of throughout the morning, and I think you probably read about it in your pre-work. The goals we have in the summer for students are different probably than what you're used to in your region. So a lot of you probably had goals in your classroom, something like 80% class average, or everybody grows 1.5 years, or something in that sort of genre. What we do at Institute is something pretty different, which is we say, you know, if this is my class right here, you're all coming in at a different starting level based on your pre-test scores, and actually you're all going to be expected to grow a different amount based on that pre-test score. So let me talk about sort of what we do to determine that. We have someone whose full-time job is to basically take the data we have for student achievement at all the institutes and at all the grade levels and analyze it so that they can come up with these goals. To say that high school physics, say, might have different trends and different data, you know, an analysis process than 3rd grade math. So we have looked at sort of what the different contexts are and what kids would be expected to grow. And I want to make sure that you know this. Students who start out at the lowest are expected to grow the most. So when we get to our tracking tool session, you'll be able to pull up the tool and see those trends. So someone who starts at, say a student got a 0% on the pre-test, their actual growth goal is something like 68%. They are growing a lot, versus someone who starts at 80% might be smaller. They only have, at max, 20% to go. Does that make sense to people? Okay. So the goals that we set are what the top quartile of core members and students have been able to achieve in summer school. So only 25% of students have reached the goals we've set that our students this year will see. And now that those goals always get bigger because we're able to accomplish more summer after summer as our core members are better planners and things like that. So boiling it down, that means that on average, students will achieve 100% of their growth goals. What it's going to look like in a tracker is some student might meet 70% of their goal. Another student might meet 150% of their goal. The average of all of your students needs to be 100%. So kind of like a math equation. And again, this is very general. When we get this package, we'll see that. So I want to talk about some questions that come up pretty frequently in the summer, and even that maybe some of you in this room are having. Can someone read that question for me?
How are these goals ambitious and worthwhile if some students won't pass or be on grade level even if they meet their growth goals?
Does anyone in the room have that question? Or maybe now they have it, but it's on the screen. Okay. Can someone read the next one?
How is the individual growth goal ambitious if it's not an absolute bar for achievement?
Thanks. And what's your name?
Laura,
Laura, thanks. How about this one?
how can the individual growth goal be motivating to students? Sorry, I don't have my glasses.
Okay.
Since it's so complicated and mysterious, calculated by a computer.
Thanks, Kelly. And the last one.
I'm still concerned and confused about the summer achievement goal. I love the idea of individual growth goals. They allow students to think about each student's needs. When those are average, though, I'm afraid lower performing students may fall through the cracks, since, for example, a student who meets 50% of her goals and one who meets 150% will average 100%, and the same will have technically met the goal. How do we prevent that situation from becoming acceptable?
Okay. So I think all of these are fair questions, and I think also they all have sort of a spectrum of responses that range from good and solid to less than good and solid. And even something like this lab one might be a question that some of you have tackled in your own classroom with an 80% average, right? You might have some kids who are getting 30% and some kids who are getting 97%, and you might be grappling with that same question. Estes, if you could pass out handout 1 from your accordion file for this session, what you're going to get for the rest of you is a response, some responses to these questions that we've sort of drafted as exemplary responses. So I want you to take 2 minutes to just read it over, and then we're going to come back together.